Hi, my name's Ruan and this is my channel, The Yorkshire Sew Girl. I'm here today with a little vlog, the follow-up vlog from mine and Tamlyn from Sewn on the Tyne and Rachel from Stitched Up's rainbow dress project. I've been and had my hair done today. That's why I've got a bit of a cocky look on my face. I'm kind of a bit like, And I'm going out tonight and I was going to dress down a little bit, but now I'm like, I'm gonna wear my dress. Don't know why I had to say it in that accent, but yes, I've just tried it on again and I'm a little bit in love with it. So I thought I'd actually wear it to film a vlog as well. I'll tell you all about it, don't you worry. So if anybody has watched the original video, I will try and pop a card in. I say that, there might not be one there when you come to watch this, but I will try and remember. If anybody watched the original vlog, it was obviously the three of us. We'd all got the same fabric from Rainbow Fabrics in Kilburn. And I'd been gifted mine. So full disclosure, I was gifted this, but they had absolutely nothing to do with this collaboration that me and the girls have done. We just kind of were chatting one day and we all realised we had the same fabric and we were like, we should do something with this. And so the rainbow dress collaboration was born. So yeah, here I am to talk to you about it. I did mine a little bit differently, if you remember rightly. So I kind of gave you guys the option of what I should make with this fabric. And I had 3 dresses that were options to me that I'd kind of looked at and gone, I would love to make these dresses out of my fabric. So the first one was the Nina Lee Park Lane dress, which I love. I'll pop a picture here. The second was the Tessuti Lois Dress. Again, I'll pop a picture here. And the third was the Saltwater Slip Dress by Friday Pattern Company, but the hacked version. Now, that was a bit of a naughty option, to be fair, because we said that we'd make a dress we'd never made before. And I have kind of made the Saltwater Slip. But with it being a hack, I was kind of like, well, you know, I'll let that little one slip in there. But anyway, thank you so much for voting. I think I had over 700 votes altogether in the end, which is incredible. And I still had some people kind of putting on in the comments section as well what they were voting for because they couldn't get to my community tab. But I didn't even need to add those ones up because it was an overwhelming landslide vote basically for the Tessuti Lois Dress. So I think that had over 60%. I think I wrote them figures down actually. Let me have a look. Oh yes, so the Nina Lee Park Lane dress had 20%. The Tessuti Lois Dress had 64% vote. And the Saltwater hack dress was 16%. Now, I would have made any of those dresses and I made sure that the options were something that I would definitely wear and I would definitely like to make with this fabric. But I think I was secretly glad that you guys chose this one. You know, I had a vision and I have realised that vision. Now, the only thing that kind of scared me a little bit was when I looked at the pattern, it said it was for intermediate to experienced sewists. And I was kind of like, I've been sewing for a number of years. But I still feel like I'm a beginner sewer. Does anybody else have that? What is that? Is it like a crisis of confidence or what? I do not know. But yeah, I was kind of like, oh no, what have I done now? And then I saw that it had an invisible zip and I nearly had a meltdown. I'm not a massive fan of sewing zips for some reason. I'm just not into it. It's just a little bit too hard for me. I don't want to do it. But anyway, you guys voted for it, so I had to do it, which was really good because it stretched me a little bit as well. So I will pop some photos in, but I have got it on today. You won't be able to see an awful lot because obviously I'm in a small room and I won't be able to show you it all. But this is the dress. Can you see it a little bit? I'm really posh today because I've even got my heels on. Ooh, look at that. I've got a bit of fake tan on and I've got my heels on. My £8 from Vinted brand new heels. Loving life right now. What do we think? I love it. That's all I'm going to say. I just love it. It's a bit flashy booby, isn't it? But anyway. So, let's talk the pattern. Should we do a bit of a review? I don't normally do full reviews. I just normally give you a bit of information when I talk about my makes, which I haven't done for forever. But I thought I'd go through the pattern a little bit with you just so that you can understand a bit about it if you are tempted to make it. But yes, I'll be putting up some pictures of me that I've just taken in my spare room, feeling all glamorous. I was like, this is an opportunity to take photos and do a vlog considering I've had all my hair done. Oh, and I've got my really nice, outrageous rainbow flower earrings in as well. You know, just to go that full hog. And my shoes are actually fuchsia pink and black. Why not? That's what I say. They'll see me coming again, won't they? Let's talk sizes to start off with. So I did think I mentioned this in my first one. This was the most limited with sizes, the Lois dress, which is a bit disappointing really. I have had a look on their website to kind of see, are they looking at increasing? I couldn't find any information out. So I'm hoping that along with some other pattern companies, that they are seeing that there is a need for larger sizes. Like I said, I do really like Tessuti patterns. I've made quite a few of them before, and I've just bought another one to make, but I'll talk about that in another vlog. But I really like their aesthetic. I am between a size 14 and a size 16 in a UK size, in a retail ready-to-wear type of industry. And I am literally on the borderline of this pattern for sizes. So I'll talk that through now. So it goes from a size 6 to 16, and a bust on that is 32 inches going up to 41.5 inches. The waist is 27 inches going up to a 37 inch. And their hips are 36 inch going up to a 45.6 inch. Now, I'm 40.5 on the bust since I put a bit of weight on. When I say a bit, I mean a lot. I'm a 40.5. Now the bust for a 16 was 41.5. So I was just 1 inch out, but I was kind of like, I think I was 1 inch more than the 14 and 1 inch less than the 16. And then the waist measurement, I'm a 37, so that was bang on the size 16. And my hips are 46, and their hip largest measurement for a 16 is 45.6. So I was just over that. So when you think about it, you know, a size 14, 16 woman is struggling potentially to get into this. However, I've done quite a bit of research. I'd checked lots of blogs, I had looked at everybody's Instagram posts, and everybody, and I mean everybody, said to size down. Now I was nervous about this because I wasn't making a toile. You know me, I'm not good with that. And I was kind of just cutting straight into my fabric, so I was a little bit nervous. But I read so many things that said to size down. But when I looked at the finished measurements, I really should have been a size 16. So I had a real dilemma to start off with, and I was like, what am I going to do? But I just thought, no, if someone gives you advice, you go with it, don't you? You go with it. There's absolutely no point in having loads of advice and then just ignoring it. So I didn't, I sized down. The only thing was, in the pattern, it didn't have a finished bust measurement, which I thought was weird. It had the waist and it had the hips, but it didn't have a bust one. But I kind of thought, well, I'm in between a 14 and a 16 anyway, so we'll go with a 14. And that's what I did. So I cut a straight 14 out, even though I was really a 16. So there's a little bit of movement in those sizes for anybody who felt like they were maybe slightly out. I think you would be all right. I'm just looking down at my pad because I wrote loads of notes so that I could talk it through with you all. So let's move on to cutting the fabric out. It said that the most fabric you would need would be 2.2 meters. Now I used 2.4 meters, and the reason for that is because I am tall. I can't remember what size it's drafted for. I think it's 5'6", because I'm 5'9", and I added 3 inches onto the skirt and the back skirt and the front skirt pieces because I wanted it to be quite long. And I really like the length of it, actually. I'm really pleased with that decision that I made. So that did make it slightly longer. So I would say 2.2 meters was probably about right if you are the height of what the pattern is drafted for, but obviously I'm a bit taller, so I always have to add something. So I used 2.4 meters in total. I haven't actually adjusted my pattern piece. I just cut a bit extra out because I was naughty and impatient. I think it only has around 6 pattern pieces, which is pretty good. The only thing I thought was weird is there is no cutting layout, whatever it's called, in the pattern, which is really unusual. And I did just go back and check that in case I was hallucinating on the day or I'd had too much Prosecco. But no, there's no cutting out, there's no layout, which is interesting. But I suppose if this is targeted at intermediate to experienced sewers, then you kind of know what you're doing, and a lot of the time I tend to ignore it anyway. I do regret that sometimes, but I get a little bit cocky sometimes. So the other thing I noticed is there's a lot of notches on it, which is good. So even though it's kind of aimed at intermediate to advanced, there are lots of notches on it, which worked really well for certain things that you needed to do, which was really great. Now, it starts off by saying that, and all Tessuti patterns actually say this, because I've made a couple of other ones and I've noticed it, to use something called Vilene Tear Out. Now, the first time I made a Tessuti pattern, I actually did buy some of that. And it's basically a stabiliser for the seams, or for the neckline, the shoulders, etc. And you sew it in and then you rip part of it away that's not within the seam allowance. And that is just to stabilise everything. Now, I did try that before and I didn't really like how that worked. It wasn't, I'm sure it's fine for lots of people, but for me, I was kind of like, no, I don't like that. But I did appreciate that I needed to stabilise certain areas of this dress, particularly this neckline. So I use, let me see if I've got it here. I think I talked about it in one of my last vlogs. I used this instead, if you can see it because of the light. And it's a bias tape, like an interfacing, but it's cut on the bias. So when you go round corners, you can do it really easily. It's really, really clever stuff. I think I mentioned before, I saw this on a Lauren from Guthrie Garney's, one of her vlogs a long time ago, and she uses this a lot. The other thing you could do is just stay stitch it. I'm sure it would be absolutely fine, but with them saying that it needed the tear out interface, and I was kind of like, do you know what, I'm going to put some of this in and just make sure. Normally I would just wing it and stay stitch it, but I didn't on this occasion. I was kind of a good guy. I kind of half rebelled. Not fully rebelled, just half rebelled. Anyway, so yeah, so I didn't use that tear out. I used the bias interfacing tape instead, on the necklines and everything. Now, it does have a very low neckline, not gonna lie. Well, now for me, so I did think about this, and I think I mentioned in the initial vlog that I was thinking of maybe putting a modesty panel in. But I reached out to a couple of people who have made this on Instagram, and I think Rachel as well from Stitched Up has actually made it, and I think I checked with her, and I'm sure it was Rachel that kind of said, look, it is very low. However, if you don't have big boobies, like I don't, it actually hugs it really well, and boy, were they right. I mean, I've got a bra on here. Can you see it? No, you can't. And when I bend over, I'm gonna do the test now. Watch me flash my boobs. I'll have to edit it. No, can you see? That's me bending right over. Let me just try and uncrease my dress at the back because I'm going out in it tonight. So, although it is low, it actually doesn't offend me, because I was kind of like, I'm gonna make it as it tells you to make it. But yeah, super pleased with that. So, didn't bother me at all. Now, it finishes off the edges as well with bias binding, self-bias binding, so you have to cut that. And it's done in a very different way to what I've ever done bias binding before, but I actually really like it. And I have a funny feeling that I might use it again. Now, you might not be able to see this, but that's the bias binding there. And it's got 2 layers of stitching down it. And that is because you attach it and then you flip it over and then you tuck it under and things. Anyway, I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, but it produces a really nice neckline. And also I think because of that, it gives it a little bit more weight, which then does hug your chest, which means that you don't flash. Now, I was a little bit worried about this bit here as well. I'm going to come up a bit closer. Can you see that it's got a line that goes from this point all the way down to the side seam? Now, I was a bit worried about that because I was like, am I going to be able to make it really neat and blah, blah, blah. It was absolutely no bother at all. Loved it. So I was really, really happy. And what I also like about it is it then tells you the curve that comes down like this under your chest. It tells you to top stitch it down, which creates a really nice, neat line as well. So that was lovely. Very nice. Oh, I haven't put a label in my dress. I might have to add that in. Anyway. Now, there was a few different techniques in this, which was nice. It kept my attention because I know a lot of people say that they love really simple makes and they don't really like complicated makes. I think I've said this to you guys before. I'm actually the other way around. I'm not saying I don't like an easy make. I really do. But I do like to learn new things, and I like to make something that's a little bit more difficult so I can just do a little bit at a time rather than whiz through something maybe on my overlocker like I'm doing at the moment. So I really enjoyed making this because it was a little bit different. Another thing that's really different about this dress is the darts. So there's a few darts in this. There's 2 darts here. And then there's some darts in the top of the skirt. And what's different about the darts is you actually cut out your dart to start off with, and then you put the 2 edges together and you create your dart. So instead of having a big piece of fabric flapping around, you just have a smaller piece. Now, I actually quite enjoyed doing that. It was a bit different. Whether I would use that technique in future on darts, I'm not so sure. I mean, you could just make your dart and then cut some of the fabric out, I suppose. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm not so sure. It was okay. It was okay, basically. Now, the nice thing about this dress as well is that actually there are, when I said side seams, there aren't really side seams. At the side, there are darts, which is interesting. So at the side here, where it joins here, this is a dart here. And then your back piece, let me see if you'll be able to see this, you might not be, goes like this, okay? So you have a small strip of fabric down the back piece, which lends itself to a really nice flattering bit over your bum. I was just going to try and think of something technical then, but I can't. The bit over your bum. And then the side seams just have a little dart in them, because they're not a side seam. They have a dart in them, and that's what cinches you in at the side. And the other thing is, in one of the side seams, you don't, in one of the side darts, you don't sew it up originally, straight away, at the same time as the other one, because that's where you put your invisible zip. Again, weird, but actually quite good. Now, I have only ever put one invisible zip into something before. Really inexperienced, because I'm so scared of zips. It's one of those things. But I did put one in. I will show you it here. There she is, look. There is an invisible zip. I won't pull it all the way down because you don't need to be seeing all of that. But I did put a zip in here. And as I say, that goes into the dart. But it was okay. It was a little bit tricky, but I think that's the same for all invisible zips unless you're incredibly experienced. And I know there's loads of different techniques as to how to insert a zip, etc. So I have had a good look at all of those, but I did follow the instructions on this one just to kind of give a good true review of how it went, and it was absolutely fine, to be fair. I found it tricky, but again, I think that was lack of experience, and that's probably one of the areas where it's talking about being intermediate to experienced as well on this pattern. But yeah, the zip went in, it was okay. However, when I tried the dress on, I don't need no zip. I don't even need to undo that zip. So I'm kind of thinking, next time I make this dress, and I think I will definitely make this dress again, I will not be putting a zip in. What is the point? What is the point in putting an invisible zip in that you're scared of if you don't need to? I can just literally pop it straight over my head. So I was very happy with that. And the only thing about it is if you don't put your zip in absolutely accurately, it can cause a bit of a wonky bit here. Let's see if I can stand up and you can see. It's not too bad actually. So you can see it cinches in here where it attaches to this piece and across the back. But it's not so bad now I've pressed it actually, but this was very wonky where my zip was. And I also used a little bit of interfacing with the zip as well, and it kind of made it a little bit heavy for this fabric. So next time I will not put a zip in, even bear in mind, even though I've sized down as well. I know, very happy with that. So let's have a look. What else was there? I think that was pretty much it. So I've put on my notes, very low neckline, but it doesn't gape. Tick. That's what I've put. Can get on without a zip. Tick. there, that's a very valid point. The darts here do not go to the apex of my bust. So I do need to do some work on this. And this is probably because it's supposed to be for people with bigger boobies. But let me see if I can find my darts end there. And you can imagine that's the apex of my boobs are there. So I do need to change the dart on the next one. But I don't think anybody else would notice other than us kind of people. I mean, no one, I hope no one will be looking at it and going, her darts are in the wrong place. If they do, I might slap their face. Unless it's my husband, then I'll let him off. The other thing to notice, to mention, sorry, is that you also put a cuff onto each arm, which I really like. And I was worried that there might be too much here, but actually, look at me showing you my armpit. Good job I've shaved. Is when you put your arm down, it's not, I thought it might gape a little bit, but it doesn't. So all is well. The only thing I struggled with on this is obviously this is cut on the bias. Now I have got a pattern that is directional. Oh yes. So when I cut them out, I went to put them on, my rainbows were upside down on this side and I was like, I can't do that. No. So I actually swapped them around. So I've got upside down rainbows on the back. Can you see there's one there, look? But I'm not looking at the back of my dress, so I'm not bothered. And the only thing is, when you put them on, because they're on the bias, mine are a little bit skew width, but I think that's because I've ended up putting them on the other way, so the notches weren't quite right for me to match them up against. So it takes a bit of ironing. But I actually really like that look. And I know I said before that I didn't like a grown-on sleeve that then flicked up, but this, for some reason, because it's got a cuff on it, doesn't actually bother me. But can you see it does actually flick up? But it doesn't offend me, so I'm okay with that. Yeah, but yeah, they're a little bit skew width, and they take a bit of ironing with a tailor's hand to get them to kind of sit nicely, if you know what I mean. So yeah, so I wouldn't put a zip in the next time. I would definitely downsize. Don't be afraid of it being low cut, because actually it doesn't flash. And yeah, and just give it a go if you like the look of it. I mean, I have to say, this fabric is one of the nicest fabrics I've worked with as well, with the viscose. It's not a super light viscose. It's got a bit of something to it, if that makes a little bit of weight to it, but it's still really floaty and drapey. It sewed like a dream. It pressed like a dream. It was really, really good. So I think it was probably considering this is maybe a little bit of a difficult dress to sew with viscose, I think it did me a little bit of a favour, really, to be fair. It treated me well. So yeah, I'm really, really happy with this dress. And also, I mean, obviously this is from a very old drop, but if you did want to buy anything from Rainbow Fabrics in the future, you can use my discount code as well. I don't get anything for it. This is just for you guys, really, if you wanted to take advantage. But if you use Ruan 10 at checkout, you can get 20% off fabrics as well, if you so wish to. So I'm very happy with the quality of the fabric. I'm very happy with the pattern. I'm actually very happy with my sewing skills when I made it, to be fair. Itchy nose. It wouldn't be the same if I didn't have an itchy nose while I was on here. And I am incredibly happy with my rainbow fabric dress. I think it's absolutely wonderful. So yeah, I cannot wait to see Tamlyn and Rachel's dress. I have a little inkling as to which dress both of the ladies are making, but they might just surprise me. So if you haven't already, please do go along and have a look. I will pop their channels down below, but you probably already follow them because they have loads more subscribers than me anyway. So yeah, please do go along and have a look, because I certainly will be doing it as soon as this vlog's up. I want to go and see what's going on because I'm nosy. I hope everybody's well. I hope everybody's had some time for sewing, and hopefully I will see you again shortly on another vlog. Take care, everybody. Bye.